what time it is. It's time for another edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. So y'all make sure y'all follow those socials, Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. Also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell to be alerted to any videos that I upload. And we got a lot of new stuff coming to you consistently, so y'all make sure y'all keep it locked with us. And now on to the show.
Yo, SWAC Talk, light on the mic, it's a play. See Wells the guy taking us state to state. Catch us Wednesday, Sunday, stats on the buffet. From Grand Darren to the court, we got the say. Football spirals, hoop dreams in the chat. Chopping it up, deep dives on every stat. Texas to Florida, repping border to border. Arkansas to Bama, the vibe getting warmer. SWAC Talk, keep the knowledge on deck. See well spinning, wisdom gotta show respect. Facts flying higher than a wide receiver's check. From football to hoops, what y'all expect? Guests roll through, dropping stories untold. Legends from the SWAC, spitting straight gold. Locker room vibe, secrets unfold. CW heavy like a championship hold. The South's got a rhythm, a culture to match. Each stat, each fact, another door latch. SWAC Talk connects like a perfect pass catch. From Alabama skies to Florida's grass patch. SWAC Talk, keep the energy alive. Wednesday to Sunday, where the legends thrive. Facts and stats sharper than a coach's knife. Ballin' on the mic, that's how we survive. Keep the energy alive. Wednesday to Sunday where the legends thrive. Facts and stats sharper than a coach's knife. Ballin' on the mic, that's how we survive. That's how we survive.
All right, everybody, what's going on, man? How y'all doing? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, show we cover the SWAC inside and out. Of course, I am your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells, and we just gonna chop it up a little bit, man. This is, one of those things that always go around and come around. You see it all the time, and I did videos on this before, and I figured do another one, not necessarily because I think any of this is gonna happen, but it's the off season, so we give us something to talk about. And that is conference expansion. And of course, you do have some conferences that are going through changes. Some teams left the CAA to go to the Patriot League. I think a few teams out west are making moves. And none of that really affects the SWAC. And, I think the Southland is getting, new teams here and there. None of it affects the SWAC because the SWAC is like the most stable conference ever, being that they have had the same members basically since like since like the 60s. They haven't lost anybody other than when Pine Bluff left and came back. And they've only gained 4 new teams since 1998. So, there is always stability here. And 12 is a great number. I don't really see, anything going beyond that unless something, crazy happens. I know everybody always after Tennessee State and South Carolina State. But this isn't about them because those guys probably never coming. This is just hypothetical. I see a lot of people talking about D2 teams making the move up. So I kind of wanted to just give an idea of what what you have to look at to get there. It's not it's not as cut and dry as just hey, we want these dudes and they're gonna come up. So I'm sure my numbers are off because the last time I did this, as far as this part, was like in 2022, 2023. So I'm sure the numbers have increased. And all of this also, you have to take into account, the budgets. I think I saw I had to pull it back up. The financial the financial move that it would take monetarily to make that jump is pretty steep for a lot of schools. You know what I mean? You have to invest a lot of money into your into moving up. Um, and not just because conference fees and all that, but you have to add sports. A lot of teams don't have the proper amount of sports. I think it's 16 sports you need to be a D1 team, and the majority of these teams, they're short of a few sports. So you're really looking at a school having to really want to apply themselves to this and commit. A lot of that is it's kind of frustrating for some people to look at in that way, but it's also kind of a valuable thing because it kind of cuts down on the teams who make those moves that aren't really ready to do it. You've had teams in years past that want to make that move up, but they don't they're not really um they're not really ready for it. And so with that being said, you kind of have to, abide by some of these rules. You got to go through the transition period. I think it's a 4-year transition period still. I think you um, may be able to circumvent that and cut it down. But for the most part, I think it's 4. This is from the NCAA itself. It says conferences inviting D2 and 3 schools to join Division One must confirm the school meets academic requirements, including being above the 10th percentile of Division One members in academic progress rate, graduation success rate, or the difference between the federal graduation rates for student athletes and the general student body. Reclassifying schools also must participate in an academic review, satisfy all Division One core guarantees and requirements, complete an NCAA self-study program, and meet new financial aid requirements such as scholarship offering that exceed the 10th percentile of active D1 members. Reclassifying schools must also participate in an academic review. But they repeated that. I don't know why they did that in this article. For schools moving up from D2 to D1, the change allows them to become fully eligible D1 members in 3 years instead of 4, provided they meet those requirements. For D3 to D2 schools, the process is shortened from 5 years to 4 years, provided they meet the requirements. Um, right now, there are 9 schools moving from D3 and D3 and D2 to D1. Which might shorten the process for a lot of people. All 3 divisions have changed their reclassification processes, which can shorten the transition period by 1 year. For schools moving up to D1, it is now 3 years. If a school is joining D2, and 4 years is if it's joining from D3. For D2 and D3, is now a quick 2-year transition. If a school is joining, any move is contingent upon achieving the standards outlined by the NCAA. A full listing of teams currently reclassifying or will start the process is kind of listed on this article. Let's see. So basically, now you don't have to go through as much, as long of a process to make that jump, but you still have to, meet those requirements financially, academically, and athletically. It's a lot that you really have to, that you have to there's a lot that you have to kind of put yourself through. But anyway, through all that, I just wanted to kind of look at some of the teams who we see come across, as those teams who may be, people teams that people might be interested in seeing join. Either the SWAC or the MEAC. I think the MEAC probably is more suited to a lot of these schools because they need numbers. But the SIAC is probably the conference that if there were teams who were to be interested, those are probably the teams that you draw from because they're kind of in your footprint. Um, So basically, like I said, what we're looking at is the school and the number of sports they offer. We're gonna just kind of look at the attendance. I mean the capacity for the major facilities, football and basketball, and go from there. Like I said, nothing is concrete. I don't have any clue if any of these teams are really interested in moving up. This is just like I said, something that I always see people talk about. So I want to talk about it too. So basically, in the SIAC, the sports that they offer are baseball, basketball, men's and women cross country, football, golf for men, softball, tennis for men and women, track and field outdoor for men and women, and volleyball for men and women. They don't sponsor indoor track and field, and there's only 4 teams in the conference that have indoor track and field teams, which obviously indoor track and field is something that the SWAC offers. Um, and as far as SWAC sports, they don't offer soccer, um, which is again a sport that only 3 teams or only 4 teams in SIAC has, and indoor women's track and field only 3 teams have that. So those are for anybody kind of looking to need something, those are probably the programs that you're looking for them to kind of add. So let's start with Albany State. That's kind of like the team that I see a lot of people who name comes across. They're obviously in Georgia, which is a good area for the SWAC to expand to. They offer 12 sports they have 12 sports that the SIAC offers. They have women's basketball, women's cross country, softball, tennis, outdoor track and field, and volleyball, all for women. For men, they have football, basketball, baseball, cross country, golf, track and field. So that gives them 12 sports. And like I said, you need 16. So you figure if you were able to monetarily add indoor track and field for men, and then golf, soccer, and women's indoor track and field, that will get you there. Um, their football stadium holds 11,000 people, and that's kind of right in the in the mix of SWAC stadiums. And the gym holds about 4,000 people. Um, the school itself has an enrollment of 6,358, which is definitely in the Miller SWAC numbers. Um, so they fit in that aspect. Like I said, I think desire and money it would be the only thing to stop these guys from being a worthy candidate. I mean, they're obviously competitive in most sports, so that helps as well. But when you look at everything, they fit really well. Um, of course, staying in Georgia, Fort Valley State, they have an enrollment of about 2,600, which again would put them on a smaller side of the SWAC. But their football stadium holds their football stadium holds about 10,000 people, and their basketball arena holds 5,100. So again, that's a good size for SWAC. They offer 6 men's sports. They don't offer baseball, which would be a huge thing for the SWAC. So if you pick that up, they give them they give them 7 men's sports, but they don't. The SWAC doesn't do men's volleyball. So if they were to pick up golf and football, I mean golf and baseball, that would basically get them 7 sports on the men's side. On the women's side, they offer 6. So that gives them basically that would put them at 13. And if they were to pick up indoor track and field on the men and women's side and soccer, that would get them pretty much there. But like I said, a lot of this is obviously contingent on who has the dollars to do this. But when you look outside of that, um, they kind of fit in that realm. And like I said, having to pick up baseball is something that would be vital because baseball is one of the top non non-football basketball sports in the conference. So you definitely want to have that if you join. But they have, they have good size enrollment and decent sized facilities. So that definitely kind of puts you smack dab in the mix. An interesting um, candidate to a lot of people I see is Morehouse. I don't know how you slot them because obviously Morehouse is an all male school. So I don't know how that would figure into anything. So I'm not gonna even attempt that. But they so they would have to, I guess, some kind of way, be able to be, excused into doing that. But like I said, that's a name I see come up a lot, but I don't even know how to touch that one, so I'm not gonna touch it. Miles is another name. Obviously, they in Alabama. That would be like your third Alabama team, and um, they have an enrollment of about 1,500. That would put them as the smallest school in the conference. They their football stadium holds about 8,500, and their gym holds about 2,000. Um, they offer right now they offer five sports that the SIAC offers: um, baseball, basketball, football, cross country, and they don't offer track and field, so they will have to pick that up definitely. Um, Indoor and outdoor. On the women's side, they offer five sports. They don't offer tennis, so you can pick that up. Um, Pick up soccer and indoor track and field. Um, they do have women's outdoor track and field, so that's one less thing that you have to pick up. But it can be done. But like I said, a lot of these things are obviously contingent on money. But it's fun to kind of just look at the other side, the other parts of it outside of that. I mean, realistically, money stops all of this. But in a hypothetical world, you can kind of look at these guys. Tuskegee again, another program in Alabama. They just added lights to their football stadium, so that helps. Um, they got a history of playing SWAC teams, so they kind of fit there. Uh, they have an enrollment of about 2,500, so that puts them kind of in the at the lower round, but they've been competitive in sports against the SWAC for a long time, and their stadium holds about 10,000. Their arena holds about 5,000, and those numbers are kind of comparable to the conference. Obviously, there has been rumblings of them being interested, but nothing ever concrete. They offer six men sports that the SIAC offers. Um, they don't offer golf, so that would put them. If they would have picked that up, and indoor track and field, that would give them eight men sports. On the women's side, they offer all sports all six sports that the SIC offers. They were to pick up indoor track and field and soccer. That would put them at eight, and that would be 16. So they would right there. That would put them right there in the mix. So obviously, if it was if it was money, it wasn't an issue. I think these guys would be a um, valuable asset. And again, you also have to throw out the main requirement to move up is you have to have a conference invite. So obviously, none of this means anything if the SWAC don't say we want you. But it is what it is. Um, Finally, we have I threw Kentucky State on here the last time I did it. Um, but we'll see what a thoroughbreds fall in at. Um, they have an enrollment of about 1,700, so not huge. Um, that would definitely put them at the bottom of the totem pole. Uh, they have stadium hold about 5,000, arena holds about 2,700. When you look at what they offer seven sports in conference. Obviously, no volleyball for men in the SWAC, so you take that away. That puts them at six. Indoor track and field will put them back at seven. On the women's side, they offer everything but tennis, so that's five. plus the 7 for the men, that's 12. So you pick up tennis, soccer, indoor track and field, you're almost there. So that, they do have indoor track and field team on the women's side. They are independent, men and women, so that gives them a good opportunity. But like I said again, the money is the issue for for most of these. But it's just fun to throw these names out. Edward Waters is another one. Obviously they, excuse me, lose my voice. Um, they have an enrollment of about 2,800. They moved up not long ago, so they haven't really been in the SIC, but since 2021. So not really looking at them to really do anything. But they revamped a lot of their facilities, and so um, they're a ways away. So I'm not really gonna go into that. Um, One name that I threw on here, but like I said, the logistics and travel and money and everything, it's and that they're already D1, and that's Chicago State. I mean, they starting up their football program. They play in the NEC, and that's very far ranging from them. Um, it- you know, I wouldn't say to add a team who has had financial issues for a long time, and they're not technically a HBCU, but people lump them there. But they are bringing the football program. Maybe in a few years, it's something to look at. But right now, obviously, that's not um, my dark horse candidate. I'm just joking with this one, but obviously that would be Lincoln. Everybody knows Lincoln is an honorary SWAC member, so let's go ahead and seal a deal. I don't know what they offer athletically as a whole, but let's get the Oaklanders here, man. They have spent a lot of time playing the SWAC and football, so um, everybody would everybody get a trip to California, or not because they don't play any home games. So everybody get a free home game against these guys. But seriously, that that's obviously not gonna happen. But that's pretty much where we stand. Like I said, this was just all hypothetical. Nothing really to be looked at as serious. So just wanted to have a little fun with this. And if you got anybody you think would be worthy to join, or if you had some updated numbers, I'm sure if my boy Lawrence out there watching, I'm sure he got the updated numbers, and I hope he chime in with them. But with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells, signing out, and I will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.